Assalamu alaikum. So you might be thinking, why am I talking about business when I'm a productivity coach? But this has been a new trend. I'm seeing since the pandemic, more and more professionals, people who have been in jobs for 5 years, 10 years, are considering, like I did when I was a teacher, considering becoming a coach, considering being an entrepreneur, and considering setting up a business. In fact, I speak to people like you every single week, and it's such a common theme. And when I look today at my my client list for this year, I was shocked to find 80% were entrepreneurs. And even those who are professionals, the 20% who are professionals, even they are, in the future would like to have more freedom, become consultants in their field, etc. And so, and out of the 80% entrepreneurs, 20%, about a quarter of those, 25%, actually approach me and want me to help them through productivity as well as my business experience, to help them with their setting up their own coaching businesses, right? So this has become a new trend, and that's why I'm talking about this. And so here's three things, and I think this will be really valuable for you, inshallah, which I wish I knew when I started my entrepreneurial journey. And my entrepreneurial journey, you might know this or not, you might not, started way back in 2008, right? How many years ago is that? 14 years. And that's when I went from full-time teacher to doing some tutoring on the side. And it was a business. It was like I set it up. It had a name, Shakespeare Tuition, etc. Right? And to be honest with you, I wouldn't consider myself successful in all those years. It's only in the last 3 years where my business has really boomed, alhamdulillah. And these are three things I think, if I knew these things when I started out, I'd have got to where I am now at least 5 years ago, if not 10 years ago, easily. It could have happened in 10, I could have saved 10 years, right? Alhamdulillah, it's all qadrullah, and I don't regret what happened. I went on my own journey for a reason, but at least I can help you shortcut your journey with these three tips. So the first one, and these are a bit out of the box, and I'm going to give you some book recommendations and ways to kind of further your research into this. The first one is financial intelligence, right? What do I mean by that? I mean something like the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'll start out with that book. If I had read that book, maybe even before I started teaching, I think my path would have been very different, right? Because that's when I truly understood how wealth works. Okay, if you haven't read that book, I don't want to kind of spoil it for you. It's a beautiful, it's a brilliant book. Have a read of it. And what that showed me was that the old school notion of, to summarize, this old school notion of getting go to university, get a job, work your way up, keep getting promotion, and then get a pension, retire, and you're going to be rich, right? It's not true, right? Maybe it was in a previous economy, but that is not the fastest way to financial freedom. And often, actually, unfortunately, it leads to wage slavery. And this is why a lot of people in the pandemic and because of the way the world has gone online, a lot of professionals are seeing this themselves now. And unfortunately, we don't realize, the reason why I realize it's too late is that unfortunately, many of us, we coast a little bit, and we don't really think seriously about, owning our house or saving up for our kids' university, et cetera, et cetera. This tends to hit home a little bit late in our mid-30s and 40s sometimes, right? And so I wish I had read that book and I had spent more time developing my financial intelligence, so I understood. And I wish another resource for you, Islamic Finance Guru. If you're not on their mailing list, get on it. They're just world-class, mashallah, right? And it's a one-stop shop for all your knowledge in terms of financial intelligence, but in an Islamic perspective. Amazing what they do. Could mashallah. So two recommendations there for you, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad and IFG, Islamic Finance Guru. And so, yeah, if I had learned that quicker, I would have been more motivated to build my business earlier on. I would have put much more time on it. I would have taken the second two tips that I'm about to give you more seriously. Number two, linked to this, is that I wish I took more risks more quickly, right? So I've been through a lot of businesses. I did tutoring on the side. I developed classes. I did book clubs. I did some time management workshops, right? But I did this at a very slow rate, like in terms of, I did one, kind of half-heartedly. I do one for a few years and something else, okay? If I had taken those risks, more quickly, if I had the courage to do them more quickly, I would have accelerated, right? I would have got to, right? And this is the thing about an entrepreneur. You're going to have to fail right? I'm sorry to say this, but you're gonna have to fail maybe 10 times before you hit the gold. That's part of the whole journey of entrepreneurship. It's scary, but it's exciting. And you know, you will eventually make progress, great progress, but you have to fail. So if you're gonna fail, you might as well fail fast, right? So I wish I had that courage. And I did more iterations, and you've got to try stuff. You've got to try different mailing providers, different forms. Some people podcasts. There's so many things you can do as an entrepreneur, and you've got to kind of fail fast. But then the third one, and this is the most important one, right? Honestly, this kind of gets the other two. This kind of sums up the two before that, and that is, I wish I invested in coaching earlier on. I didn't invest into coaching until 2018, right? So, until then, I just tried it myself. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs make this rookie mistake, which is you just kind of figure out, you just kind of think, some of the new age entrepreneurs, those of you who are young in your 20s, you kind of think, oh, look, I'm social media savvy. And look, I've got loads of hit, I know how Instagram works, right? But honestly, you're working at like a tiny 1% of your potential. And then just look at the income, right? If you're not hitting 5K a month, if you're not hitting those numbers after a few months of doing that, then you're taking the shortest path. You're not taking the quickest path to success, right? The moment I did my and funnily enough, my first coach was not in business, was in productivity, and that immediately helped me almost double my income. Right? Well, halve my hours and double my rate, right? That was through my productivity. And this is why productivity and business is intertwined. And this is why I'm able to help a lot of people. And even I have people who are on business coaching programs, and at the same time, they're working with me because, alhamdulillah, I was on several programs in 2020 when I invested a lot in business coaching, and I was like the top student in both of them. And one of the reason was because of my productivity, alhamdulillah, right? I was leveraging that. So when I invested in coaching, right? And honestly, this is not like a plug to get you to kind of work with. I'm not a business coach anyway, right? But when I first did this in 2018 and 2019, when I started, and I started off small, like, investing in smaller offerings at first. I invested heavily in productivity, but I just remember the very first time I got some knowledge on how to do things properly, right? I think it was about a webinar, how to do a webinar. Well, I used to do webinars, but I just winged it, did it how I thought, right? Just based on my own knowledge. You can understand, our own knowledge is just really fractured. I just have a mailing, like a Gmail list, right? And I just kind of I'm naturally a salesman. I'm naturally good at writing and stuff, but it was just based on entrepreneurs have got decades of sums of knowledge, and they've shortcutted the process. So as soon as I found an expert and a coach, and I learned to process, it immediately doubled the results. Like, for example, how much money I'd get from a webinar, or how many registrants, it immediately doubled it. And then when I went into higher level coaching, it's not completely profitable. The more you invest, right, I would say, I'll be honest with you, like, you need to consider, if you're looking at less than 4-figure investments, less than £1,000, then it's not going to be serious enough. It's not going to be quality enough, because there's a big return of investment when you go, right? And I've met people, it might be some of you listening to this today, I've met people who have been just on the side, little business, and it's not making any money. You're making less than £1,000 a month, right? If that's you, then I'm telling you, it's because you've not invested in coaching. And you've got to understand the ROI. The return of investment is when I invest £5,000 in a coaching program, but I'm going to be getting like 3K a month. Whereas right now I'm a 1K a month. And so you've got to understand that the opportunity cost, this is financial intelligence, the cost of you not investing in yourself is much more expensive. You're losing at least 5K a month. Any entrepreneur, no matter what field you are, you should be earning 5K a month minimum, right? Any decent entrepreneur can do that, right? And if you're not achieving that, that's big. It's because you've not had some coaching. You've not, and it took me a while to figure this out, because when you ask your friends and family, what do they tell you? They tell you, no, don't waste money. You don't need a coach, right? It's bad advice, because they've not succeeded themselves. And you might meet some who did it. There are exceptions, right? Like from the last generation and the way they, but those people were exceptional. They had a lot of business acumen, and people like, I don't know, think about The Apprentice and Alan Sugar or something. You get self-made millionaires, etc. But look, we've got a much more level playing field now, and there's much more competition. And the beauty is there's so much more knowledge which is accessible. It means that people with as little business knowledge as I had can do really well, right? And more than double the income I used to have as in my teaching days, right? So there's so much out there, but you have to invest in yourself. Okay. And in terms of a resource for that, I mean, here's just one book, which is great. How to get the most out of coaching. That's if you're, if you end up getting a coach in personal development or business. And if you resonate with me, maybe you're someone who's on my list and has been considering working with me, and maybe it's productivity or maybe it's business, and you're inspired by my own journey, contact me, and we can get on a short call to talk about whether I'm able to help you in your circumstances. That could be another way to explore this further. All right, I hope this is really valuable. Yeah, give me some feedback in the comments. But I don't know, it's the first time I'm talking about business, really, and I'm just interested to see how popular a topic this is, even for my audience. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.